Alrighty, so normally I don't do the review of the Leeds Cup action until tomorrow. At least that's kind of how I've been doing it so far in this Leeds Cup. But today I'm actually going to do it right after these action, and I was pretty much gambling the fact that this game does not go to a PK shot. I was kind of praying that it doesn't. In fact, I was kind of really rooting LAFC hardly in this one, thinking that they can hold on to get the win, and also that narrative of MLS team unable to hold on against Liga MX's team, especially these giants of the Liga MX's team late in the game doesn't strike again in this game, and thankfully it didn't. And I would say that as we'll talk about in this game, yeah, I don't think anyone saw this coming with LAFC getting the win against Tigres. Now, first of all, let us talk about the first of free selective game that I watched for this League Cup, starting with Columbus versus Leon. So the good news for Columbus, they did get the win in this one, and that propelled them to 7 points, and that is now means that they are at the top of the standings, at least in the MLS standing of the Leagues Cup Phase 1. The bad news is they only score one goal in this one, and you just kind of had a sense when you're facing against a Leon side that have not been great whatsoever. They've been one of the worst, if not the worst, team so far in this Leagues Cup of Liga MX, that you just kind of had a sense they had to win more than just one goal. Like you just kind of had a sense they should have at least scored 2 or 3 goals in this one. And one of the things that I've also noticed with Columbus game this season is the fact that they have been wasteful in terms of some of their performance, in terms of the chances that they created. And in a game like this, where yes, on one hand you get the win and you're now at the top of the standings, and you might put a little pressure on teams below to of course get the win to try to overtake them. But you just kind of had a sense that, with the goal difference that they have, which I think the goal difference is +3 right now, but depending on what's going to happen with some of the team below, they might have a better goal difference, and not to mention probably have the goal scoring advantage as well, because Columbus so far, I think they score, actually, to be fair, they have scored a fair amount of goals so far this season. They've scored 6 so far, but it could have been a lot better after this game against Leon. Now in the first half, in fact, they look like they got the opening goal as Max Arfson would put the ball into the back of net, but VAR disallowed this for offside. And the reason why this was disallowed for offside was when Rossi hit this free kick. Not only hits the wall of the Leon defense, but also just an unfortunate situation where it bounced off the wall and also hits off of Gazdag. Gazdag was in an offside position there, so yeah, no goal, of course, was scored. I mean, I just was looking at that moment. I was thinking, how in the world did they fall so fortuitously to Arfston? Like, that's one of the rare situation where a free kick that hits the wall and fall fortuitously to a player on the rebound that is in an onside position, and I thought that was probably one of the most fortunate goal that Max Arfson has. But unfortunately, with every fortunate things that happen, there would be some unfortunate thing that happened in that sequence. And like I said, Gastag, I mean, he didn't meant to touch that ball when it was deflected off the wall there. But yeah, he was in an offside position, so yeah, that obviously counts as offside. So the goal was chopped off. But there was no doubt that Columbus was on the front foot. They were pressing for the lead, though there was only one shot for the first 15 minutes of the game. That one shot was the free kick that Rossi hit. Arminson would then puts it way wide from long range before Schulte denied Rodriguez from long range, as that was Leon's first shot. And that might be a warning shot for Columbus, because there were times where Columbus was being a little sloppy in this game on the defense, especially dealing with the transition that Leon put. Jimenez would then deny Rossi on the doorstep of goals. I thought this game started to become very end to end early on. Both of these teams love to go direct. Rossi would then hit it right to Jimenez before Jimenez denied Rossi from close range. As again, Columbus continue to put the pressure, but now the question is, can they beat the Leon netminder? Because so far Jimenez has definitely played a big part of why this game is still 0-0. Though on the other end, Schulte would deny Funes Mori from close, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. So it's got to be frustrating if you're Columbus, putting a lot of pressure on this Leon team, but nothing to show for besides the disallowed goal that they had in the 4th minute. Now in the second half, Barrio would have a shot that was deflected and goes high. I thought Leon actually started better. Columbus definitely didn't start on time in this second half, which is kind of a rare thing that you usually see with Wilfred Nancy's side. This team always tends to start the half strong. So it was kind of rare to see them not do so. But nevertheless, in the 53rd minute, they did get their deserved goal. As Max Arston, he was disallowed a goal in the 4th minute. This time it was not disallowed as he scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of Columbus. And really, again, it was kind of against the run of play a little bit because I thought Leon started well in the second half. And as I said, this time it would count counted. Arston was not in an offside position, or there was no offside on the development play. We then had some coming together right in front of the net, and this happened when Herrera looked like he spiked Jimenez with his outstretched leg. So yeah, anytime when you decided to do that, especially against your opposition goalkeeper, you are going to draw a crowd. And anytime when you do it against a Liga MX goalkeeper or a Liga MX team, yeah, you're definitely gonna draw a crowd. In fact, Jimenez, this is something I usually don't see often, and you can clearly tell this is a classic Liga MX kind of shit housery where he was pretending that he was hurt, and then he threw the ball to Herrera in frustration after he got spiked. Like that is something that is just kind of show you the dark arts of Liga MX that is, and I kind of had a chuckle in terms of that because yeah, that's kind of the only Liga MX team can do that. I usually don't see that happen in MLS. Maybe one of the player might accidentally decided to throw the ball in retaliation, but I didn't think the goalkeeper himself would retaliate, even though he was kind of pretend to be hurt. And to be fair, Herrera, he didn't really spike Jimenez that hardly. Again, Jimenez clearly sold that one, but it also doesn't help the fact that once he decided to do that, that's when yeah the tempers really start to flare between both of these teams, like we usually see with a coming together between an MLS and Liga MX affair. But in the 67th minute, Moreira would put it wide from close. Columbus were looking for another and hope to build on their goal difference and their goal scoring so far in this tournament. Rossi would then hit it wide from close range before Jimenez would deny Arston from close range. And I mean, will these lack of finishing lead to Columbus' downfall of not moving on despite having this 1-0 lead? Again, goal difference is going to be huge heading into the decider. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams that's going to be tie on points. I'm feeling heading in to the final count, and this is where if you're Columbus, like, again against a weak team like this, they should be winning more than 1-0. They should at least had 2, 3, or even 4 goals in this one. Francisco then had a shot that was deflected and goals wide in the 77th minute, and I even wrote Columbus at the same time. They don't want to also give up a goal to Leon, and all of a sudden this game is tied up because it's one thing to get frustrated and you only fill in the one goal lead in this one, but it's another to get frustrated, and then next thing you know, it's 1-1 in this game, and now you can potentially heading to the PK shootout where you're even if you win the PK shootout, you still only get 2 points and lose a valuable point that could be a huge heading into to the final count as well. Rossi would then puts one into the stands, but in the 4th minute stop time, Patrick Schulte absolutely robbed Ishmael Diaz from close range. I mean, that was pure robbery there from Schulte there. Diaz pretty much had almost a point blank effort. Somehow, in some way, Schulte with some cat-like reflexes to get that one away. But yeah, in the end, Columbus, they do get the 1-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, 13 shots for the 7 that Leon has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 6 shots off target with 2 that Leon has. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 52% possession or 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Leon has. And like I said, on one hand, it's good that at least Columbus now forced the issue of other teams to trying to also match their point total and also the goal score and the goal difference as well. But the bad thing is that again, you look at their goal difference, which is at +3 right now. I mean, that still isn't really that impressive compared to other teams below them that's sitting on 4 points or even 5 points right now have just a slightly better goal differential than Columbus had. They would overtake Columbus for that spot. So yeah, again, this is why they should have won more in this game to really secure themselves to be one of the top 4 team, and especially now you go back to that game against Toluca of them blowing that 2-0 lead. How much is that now going to really hang into balance, especially also not winning in that PK shootout as well? How much that really hurt Columbus chances, because even if they would have won that PK show, they would have been sitting on 8 points, and 8 points would definitely be enough for them to move on into to the next round as one of the top 4 teams. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, one team that is not going to be moving on into the next round, in fact, one team that pretty much almost confirmed them finish in the wooden spoon spot of the Leeds Cup. I feel like there should be a special wooden spoon edition in the Leeds Cup where somebody's going to eventually have to win this as well, and it seems like maybe Houston is going to be that team to do so because yeah, they lost all 3 of these games. Not even in a shootout as well. They flat out just lost all 3 of these games in regulation. Though they looked like they were gonna send this to a PK shootout as well. In the first half, there was a shout for a penalty for Pachuca not given. Burrito would then struck the post from close range. Pachuca was definitely on the front foot as Houston looked like they're playing a team is the reason why they're dead last so far. The first shot of the game did see the first shot for the Dynamo did see Moreno deny Holmes from close range before Dominguez had a shot that was deflected wide. The shots were 3-2 20 minutes in for Pachuca up to this point. McGlynn would then puts it high from long range in the 20th minute, but then in the 24th minute, Pachuca takes the lead as Luis Quinones would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Pachuca. Bond did make a save here, but unfortunately just parried right into the path of Quinones there. Quinones basically cleans up the mess. And also, let's not forget that goal all started because of Houston turning the ball over badly. Again, that was one of my headlines and one thing that I've talked about before, where turnovers in this tournament has really hurt MLS teams so far. I've seen so many goals so far giving up by MLS team because of bad turnover against Liga MX, and this one is even worse because it feels like it's an unforced turnover too. I mean, it's not like Pachuca put up a huge press against this Houston team. This was just bad mistake on the Dynamo part, turning the ball over in their own half sloppily, and they were made to pay because of it. Dominguez then looked for another, but he hits it right to Bond before Guzman had a free header there, but missed wide in the 30th minute. The Dynamo were on the ropes. I mean, this was all Pachuca for the most part in terms of some of these dangerous chances, and they are very fortunate the fact that they're still only down 1-0 up to this point. Linger would then go in on goal there, but he was denied by Moreno. By the way, Linger is still the only player up to this point that score a goal for the Dynamo in this Leeds Cup. So not only the fact that the Dynamo is really struggling in this Leeds Cup, but they're not scoring either. I mean, they've only scored 1 goal so far in this Leeds Cup, and Linger is the only guy to score back in that game against Tigres. Sanchez would then puts it wide from close in the 38th minute before Montiel puts it wide from long range in the 45th minute. Houston clearly needs halftime because this could have easily been 2 or 3-0 if they were Pachuca. If Pachuca would be a little bit more clinical in terms of their finishing. McGlynn would then hits it right to Moreno in the first minute of stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with Pachuca leading 1-0. In the second half, yeah, it was a bit of a bore fest in the second half. Not much really happened, at least for the first 20 minutes or so. I'm kind of surprised Pachuca, like Columbus, I feel like they probably could have built their goal differential and their goal scoring as well. Consider they're also one of those teams that isn't the similar situation as Columbus in, where it feels like they really need to build their goal scoring and goal differential so that they could get themselves above in a good position. Though I will say that when it comes to their position compared to where Columbus is, because it feels like maybe there might be fewer points require at least one fewer points. I think requires with Liga MX he's table than MLS. There could be a good case that maybe Pachuca would make it, even if teams below them don't get the points, or even the team below get the points, and Pachuca should have it enough of a good goal differential to move on. Bautista then hits it right to Bond before a penalty was given to the Dynamo. They go to VAR to see whether or not Moreno did bring down Ulisanya in the box, and he did. So yeah, penalty was given to the Dynamo. Here comes Amin Bassi, a chance to score only the second goal the Dynamo have done so far in this tournament, and he does. So the game was tied up at 1 apiece. Looked like it might be heading to a PK shootout because again, there was really not a lot of chances that happened in the second half. But 3 minutes later, Pachuca answer as Tigani, the substitute, he scored from Bautista to give Pachuca the lead back, and yeah, in the end, that lead holds up. The 2-1 scoreline was the final score of this game. The shots in this one, 12 shots committed, 8 that Houston had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that Pachuca has, 3 shots off target for the 1 the Dynamo has. Both teams had 3 shots on block, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Pachuca has in this game. Just honestly a rough tournament for the Houston Dynamo in the Leeds Cup. They might as well just not show up in into this tournament with the way that they have a approach. I mean, yes, I know when you look at these free games. I mean, the Mazatlan one that probably was winnable, but the other games, I mean, you got to say that they got to do. I mean, the other games so far. I mean, you could say that they probably would have had a tough time. I mean, facing against Tigres and Pachuca is definitely not easy, but the Mazatlan one, they probably should have done better in terms of that. And yeah, like I said, this is not going to help their confidence in terms of their chances of getting themselves back in league play and try to chase for some of these last couple of playoff spots that is in the West. Because as I mentioned before, looking at back in league play, the West is still wide open compared to the Eastern Conference when it comes to the playoff race. There's a lot more team in the West that is fighting for those last couple of playoff spots compared to what we see in the Eastern Conference. Now, moving on into the game that I've just watched, and a game that is probably one of the biggest surprise in this tournament. I think between this game and the one where Seattle put seven past Cruz Azul is probably going to go down as the biggest surprise we've seen in this tournament. And normally you would be shocked for me to say surprises, and especially using the two word biggest surprises next to LAFC name, but here LAFC was pretty much putting a B team in this one. I mean, they did not have Denis Bouanga in this game. They didn't even had him and didn't even sub him in. Although I don't think he was in the starting 11 or even on the bench in this one. They obviously don't have Ordaz because of him getting suspended because of the red card in the last game and against a mighty Tigres team that yeah, this Tigres team it definitely didn't feel like they show any mercy or any consideration. They were putting their strongest team in this one. I thought this was going to be a beatdown. I thought LAFC was going to get absolutely steamrolled by this Tigres team, like what we see Tigres have done before. But the opposite couldn't be more true in this game. I mean, this was a game where LAFC. I'll tell you what. If there's one thing that's got to be scary about LAFC heading into the stretch run is the fact that if this Def can hold up against one of the best, if not the best team so far in Liga MX out of the Leeds Cup. Who knows what they're gonna do now that when they get reinforcement because we know that they're gonna get some reinforcement, especially that South Korean guy from Tottenham is gonna be coming to this team soon, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna light up this league never before when he started to arrive and at the attacking punch for this LAFC team. Now, in the first half, Garza with the first shot of the game for Tigres, but he missed wide before Martinez with LAFC first chance, but he also missed wide. Gignac would then puts it just high from close range. Tigres was definitely coming early on. I mean, I can sense the fact that they were showing no mercy against this makeshift LAFC side. It looked like early on it was going to be a walk in the park for Tigres in this one. Gignac would then hit it wide from close before HOU denying Carrera from close range. I gotta say, Thomas HOU so far in these two games. I mean, I know he's been criticized during his time with LAFC. He hasn't really looked that good besides this tournament. But man, it feels like in this Leeds Cup tournament, he is turning back the MOS's back tournament days with the performance that he put in this game and in the last game as well. He made some huge save in this one. That is the reason why LAFC would walk away with a win. Correa with then skies one to the 3-2-5-2 in the 28th minute. The shots were 7-1 in favor of Tigres. Yeah, it was total dominance in favor of the Liga MX side. Martinez would then hits it right to Guzman before Hasal denying Linus from close range in the 33rd minute. And despite LAFC giving up a lot of chances, again, Thomas Hasal, he's feels like he's back into his MOS's back tournament form. I mean, he was determined to not allow a goal in this one. And LAFC seems like they all pass all the dangerous sign with flying color. Every time when Tigres attack, they at least limit the damage to whatnot. But still, even then, this is Tigres after all. They eventually is gonna break through out of all the pressure. But instead, in the 36th minute, a penalty was given to LAFC as Gorian brought down Tillman in the box here. Tillman just came in this is one after Bobasi had to be subbed off because of a hamstring. So talk about an instant impact for Steve Torellino's side. So yeah, they won the penalty here. David Martinez was the one to take the penalty because no Denis Bouanga in this game, and Martinez buries it. So yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. And anytime when you take penalties against Tigres, and especially you're facing against the master of shit housery known as now who Usman's. I mean, between him and Imi Martinez, those are two goalkeeper that is literally right up there in terms of the Mount Rushmore, in terms of shit housery when it comes to goalkeeper. So yeah, that feels gotta feel extra special for LAFC. That might be worth two penalty kick goal when you face the mastermind of penalty kick stopper like Nahu Guzman. But yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. Herrera did look to answer for Tigres, but he missed wide there. But we do head to halftime with LAFC leading 1-0. You're thinking, well, maybe they can pull it off, right? Well, then 2 minutes in, Tigres equalized. It's Lopez who just came in for Tigres. He scored from Bernetta to make it 1-1 in this one. Yeah, not great set piece defending whatsoever there from LAFC. I wrote Tigres. I actually meant LAFC there. I mean, it was a beautiful ball delivered by Bernetta. We know how dangerous he is when it comes to set piece and dead ball situation, but not great defending there from LAFC to leave Lopez open there. And just like that, the game is tied up at one apiece, and you're thinking, well, this is when Tigres is gonna really pull away, right? Because up to this point, yes, LAFC did start putting some of their starter, but it's not like they put in a lot of their starting 11. They still did not have Denis Bawanga up to this point. Things were definitely open up on both ends, but I also thought neither team was looking really sharp when it comes to the final third. As I said that, Bernetta would hit one right to Hassan for on the other end. Guzman denied Charnier from close range. Tafari then had a header that was clear off the line, actually denied off the line by Guzman, and all of a sudden, LAFC was pouring the pressure. This is not what I expected. I did not think that LAFC would have that mental toughness for them to overcome that early equalizer they gave up, and now they're the one that is trying to dictate things, and we're looking to try to get the lead back. Guzman would then deny Smolyakov from long range, but then the 64th minute, it's that man again, David Martinez. It feels like this was his breakout out game. This is the game that I think LAFC been waiting for David Martinez to have for a very long time, because this was him just going on beast mode. We know how good he is when it comes to taking on defender, and he went beast mode here. Let's also not forget about the Smolyakov pass as well. I think that's gonna definitely overshadow in terms of Martinez went on beast mode there and beat those Tigres defense, which are no jokes. I mean, those Tigres defenders are really good defenders, but Martinez just make them look silly in this one, and just like that, it's 2-1 in favor LAFC. The shock is definitely on again, and you kind of had a sense that LAFC was definitely feeling it. Tigres, they look like they're rattled and vulnerable up to this point, but how many times I've said before, when you're on top against the Liga MX side, you have to punish them, because you know that Tigres eventually is going to compose herself and start to push for the equalizer, and they did. In the 76th minute, Carrera would head it high from close range, and then the post would deny Bruneta from long range. Again, Tigres must have saw what I wrote earlier, and say, yeah, we're now going to be the one that pressed the equalizer, and LAFC was in survival mode up to this point. Again, this is also where I talk about why it does MLS team always have a tough time in terms of trying to close out games against Liga MX's opponent. It's because the depth of Liga MX always will prevail over MLS depth, and even in this game it was just kind of in an interesting situation where LAFC was actually bringing some of their better players off the bench instead of the opposite way. But even then, I mean, you can see the depth that this Tigres team has, and especially when push comes to shove, this Tigres team, they're gonna put everything thing at LAFC to try to get the equalizer. And that including the 88th minute when Hassal denied Bernardo from long range. Then there was a huge shout for a penalty for Tigres, as they feel like Jesus handballed this one. They did briefly check VAR to see whether or not if Jesus handballed it. I think it probably hit his head and then it hit his hand there. It was really tough to tell. I think because of that as well, there was not enough definitive evidence to overturn that one. But up to this point, there was no doubt LAFC is in survival mode. I mean, Tigres, they were throwing the kitchen sink, and I also wouldn't be surprised if they would have got the equalizer late, because that's what Tigres do, and that's what Liga MX's team have done to MLS teams, especially some of these giants. Liga MX team have done to MLS team, scoring late goals, and MLS team not able to close out game properly. Joaquin would then heads it wide from the free kick in the third minute stoppage time before Tillman had a chance to put this away. He goes for the empty net there. Guzman was ways off his lines, but couldn't do so. He puts it onto the roof of the net. But in the end, on a rare occasion, an MLS team hold on against the a giant in Liga MX and able to close out games. As LAFC, nobody saw this coming. They win 2-1 in this one. And for those of you wonder why did LAFC decided to put a relatively weak team against Tigres, knowing that they still had a chance to move on? Well, again, even after this game, yes, as great as this win is for LAFC, and as much as you could say this is kind of revenge for what happened in the Confidence Cup a couple of years ago, or even in the CONCACAF Champions uh, League final we saw in the COVID pandemic year down in Orlando when this was a rematch of the final of that year. You know, LAFC, they you look at where they are in the standings, and even picking up these 3 points, the likelihood of them moving on into the next round is still stem to none. I mean, they have to literally rely on pretty much every single team below them, and there's like 7 teams that's below them to lose their a game because, as I said, I feel like the bare minimum to get into the next round, it has to be 7 points to get into the top four. LAFC only has 6 up to this point, and while it was a valiant effort, and again, it just shows you how dangerous this LAFC team is, and the fact that if this is how good their depth is from then on, I mean, what's gonna happen once they do bring on the big hitter? Like once they do get the big hitters like this is a team that hands down will be a team that once again will be a contender in the Western Conference and rise up in the standings. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of the last thing that any team in the Western Conference would want to see in terms of LAFC revving up their engine again and ready to be in postseason for them again. But yeah, this is a huge win for LAFC, huge win for MLS as well. You always like to see this. I mean, I know in this tournament because of how the format is, it's a very weirdly put format where you kind of almost trying to root against MLS team, especially heading into this final group stage. If you're all these MLS team, but you know because of where LAFC is in the standing, I don't think a lot of team below looking above LAFC now that I think they're sitting in fourth position. I think they'll still be confident that they can overtake LAFC in that fourth and final spot, and they'll still be happy. The fact that again beating Tigres that's no small task. It is not very often you see Tigres lose to a Liga MX side, and you know for Tigres it just feels off in this game. They just don't look like a team. I feel like they might have also kind of took LAFC lightly in this one, and this can happen. Like when you see even some of the best team in this region or in the world, they can take opponent lightly and maybe play down to the competition. And I feel like this is a classic example of Tigres playing down the competition. They felt like LAFC putting a weak roster that they were going to eat them alive, and more times or not, Tigres will do that. They will absolutely eat team alive when they're feeling it, but they just weren't feeling it in this game. And now that could be costly for Tigres as well, because again, you know, just because with how Tigres was sitting after two match day, it feels like this format, every single point matter, every single match day they matter. You can't really even heading into the final match day in fate, you can just relax and you cruise your way into being one of the top 14 because now with this loss that Tigres has had, it kind of put them in a very precarious position where you know the only good thing I will say about Tigres, at least because of the fact that they have a pretty good goal difference and also the amount of goals that they score so far, which has been a lot so far. They might still stay in a pretty good position to move on, but if things quickly go against them, and if Liga MX team somehow started winning games against MLS teams heading into these last 2 days, Tigres could find a chance to maybe get themselves not even being one of the top four team out of the Liga MX in the standings. And again, this is why it can change a lot, and this is why that again, you know, even though I also talk about in my headlines that I give praise to both Seattle and Portland in terms of those two teams have done relatively well after first 2 round. I'm pretty sure they know that even though they done well in the first 2 round and they believe that maybe there's a chance that they might be the favorites. They slip up, and both of those Cascadia teams slip up in the final day, then all of a sudden that just opened the door for every single team below them, and there could be a case where both of them could be knocked out because of how this format is. So yeah, very interesting to see how these next 2 day is gonna play out. And speaking of these next 2 days. Let me talk about some of the resort that happened today. Now, these next 2 days, I'm gonna continue to do something similar to that. Basically, review some of these marquee game and kind of give you some updates in terms of how the standing things is after looking at other games. So looking at other game, we got Toluca winning 2-1 against NYCFC. Toluca pretty much is I think they're pretty much stamped their tickets to the next round. Although I don't think they're officially clinched yet. Pretty much they're the team that has the highest points total out of any team so far in the Leeds Cup. Montreal, of course, losing 2-1 to Puebla. Yeah, Montreal is out as a resort. And then San Diego did win 2-0 against Mazatlan, but too little too late. San Diego already eliminated heading into this final match. So tomorrow, we got how many games? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So there's gonna be 7 games that's gonna happen. I'll probably either review 3 of those 4 games. I'll probably do a review of the Miami versus Pumas game, the Minnesota versus Atlético de San Luis game, and then of course the America versus Portland Timbers game as well. Might even do the review of the Seattle versus Tijuana game as well if I have time to do so. But yeah, when it comes to the standings right now, I mean, just looking at the standings as well, real quick. Right now, Columbus, of course, is in first place, and this is the MLS standing, that is. And you got Seattle in second, Portland in third, LAFC, of course, in fourth place. By the way, Seattle and Portland still haven't played that third game. And then you have a bunch of teams between fifth all the way down to 10th. Right now, these are all the teams that still have only played 2 games, and there's only like a point gap between the teams that goes from fourth all the way down to 10. So again, for those top 4 teams out there, and this is why I say for LAFC, even though they're in that spot right now, they need to hope that all of those teams below them, which is one, two, three, four, five, six. There's gonna be 6 teams that they're gonna hope that they all lose, so that they don't get into that fourth and final spot. Yeah, I mean, I know crazy things have happened in the league, but I'm pretty sure LAFC fans are going to be going full Liga MX mode. I think they're going to be the best Liga MX fans out of all the MLS teams to root for all those teams that is lost. So it is very highly unlikely that is going to happen, especially with the way how even things have gone. I would be shocked if every single MLS team would just lose out from now. But obviously, that's what LAFC fans are hoping that is the case, because unfortunately for LAFC, that's kind of the only way for them to move on. And again, this is kind of the reason why they didn't really put a strong squad, because they might have known that even if they get a win in this one, it might be a little bit too late because of the format that it is right now. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these three games. And tomorrow we'll probably do another 3 or 4 games review, depending on what I decided to do. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.